Kakoititake sait taman ngunon chitab kalenjin atinye kamang'unet ale babelda tulele miten koskoleng'ut nekaran kot mising inoni noton notochinen logoiwekab emet en koindo kong'eten ketesiet noton nebo Nenyon TV kikurenon Bett Elkanah. Amache ketaunen logoiwek choton chetesetai koibu ng'alalutik mising en emoni chetinye gaa kipsomaninik ole kakomong'e alak en barnotik en county nebo Elgeyo Marakwet ak kokoito kurset nebo keib kakwautik en chokyinet kosubkei ak yautik chebo ingelelnotet chekokeborionchi en sukulisiek cheterterchin en emoni. Kong'ololi en kebeberatan komwa ichek kole ibe kebeberta nekoi mising sigik en kanetisiet noton nebo lagokwak. Kinyoru koindab logoiwechu kobun Festus Kiprop en county nebo Elgeyo Marakwet.
Yetesetai keboryenjin yautik chemokororon cheboto betetab skulishek, ng'ametab malik kokamwa neranik en county nebo Elgeyo Marakwet kole notok ko kanagut en bandab tai ak sikyin keibchi kakwaut. Komwa Dorcas Chepchirchir ne ine ko neranet en Marakwet Cherongo kole biik chekirirtoen mising ko sigik ne komwa ine kole makat koib ararutik chekimen akobois ak kanetik koboto stakeholders cheterter.
Wazazi wameacha wanafunzi, wamefanya mambo mingi outside school, wameachia walimu wetu kazi, and the first person that should be blamed in all this mess ni wazazi. We the parents should see on what we are going to do kuensure kuwa watoto wetu wanakuwa rectified.
Kokimita lage neranik choto kole sikyin kewe corporal punishment anan kiboko en skulishek sikolitit atebet en kipsomaninik.
Corporal punishment irudi shule kwa sababu hiyo ndo imelegeza sana wanafunzi wenzetu hadi hawajui kwamba what they have to do is it's needed in life.
Mimi nakupali hiyo maneno kiboko ya shule irudishwe juu imekuwa shida sana kwa mashule zetu Kenya mzima. Unapata wanafunzi wanachoma shule ukiona wengine wanaogopa kufanya exam ndo maana wanakuja kuchoma shule. Ikifika wakati wanataka kufanya exam wanachoma shule, wanapewa shida wa wazazi.
Kotinge noto komwa Leonard Chelimo ne ine ko speaker nebo bunge la mwananchi 10 kole oretage ko kewal skulishek tugul koege chemakirusot anan day schools kotinge pressure netindoi kipsomaninik. To komwa Leonard Chelimo ne ine ko speaker nebo bunge la mwananchi 10 kole oretage ko kewal skulishek tugul koege chemakirusot anan day schools kotinge pressure netindoi kipsomaninik.
Kando na kuambia watoto twende shule, pia sisi wazazi tuko na jukumu kubwa kwa sababu ya watoto. Alafu ya mwisho, ikiwezekana na tukiona hii kitu ya strike ya kuchoma shule imetrend, ningeomba wazazi serikali to abolish maneno ya boarding school. Watoto waende nyumbani.
Logoiwekab emet chebo Nenyon TV kong'eten county nebo Elgeyo Marakwet kikurenon Festus Kiprop.
Ngeistoengei noton chitab kalenjin ketokyinigei kebeberta noton nebo Laikipia anan en Nanyuki ole kaimuch biikab boror komong'e en kebeberaton en kasarta age kora en raini asikobit koyai bonwekab oret konerekyin tekset noton nebo ketesiet nebo Ebola noton ne kiimuch anan ne ituitoskei serikalit noton nebo emoni ak serikalitab emetab Marekani asikobit kotech ketesiet nekikirindoen Ebola en komosoton. Nerekyin ichek kit nemwoe kole manyolu kinde kebeberaton tekset noton nebo ketesionoton ole kosubkei ak serikalitab emetab Marekani komwoe kole niton ko ketesiet noton nekiboisien kinyoen biikwak andanyoru miondo nebo Ebola.
We are very peaceful. Peace. They put in the constitution. We just want to be heard. Peace. Peaceful. Peace.
Ngeistoengei noton ketokyinigei kapkirwok nebo emoni ole koib tilet anan koib ng'alalet neo kot mising tilet noton kokon kapkirwok nebo High Court en kemboutab amut kotinygei ak kang'ung'unyet nekiitita taitab kapkirwok nekirubewotab president nekikiisto Rigathi Gachagua. Koimuch komwa en betutab amut kapkirwok kole kikisib ng'atutik en koistoet nebo Rigathi Gachagua ak komwa kole kounoton kotononi impeachment nenyin noton nekimuch kosuldaen senet nebo emoni. Kokonu tilanoton kirwokik somoku choton chebo kapkirwok noton komwa kole makibun ng'atutik en koistoet noton nebo Rigathi Gachagua kobaten kokikochi ng'atutiet senet nebo emoni kolipan ine silingishek milionishek 50 en kit nekomwa kole makikochi inendet kasarta nebo kekas en kasarta ne kimuch kwo sipitali inendet ak kotestai senet ne kitakitonosi kasanoton.
On allegations of bias, the allegations of bias, predetermination, and conflict of interest advanced against the speakers, members of parliament, and senators are unsubstantiated. They rest on political inference and suspicion rather than objective evidence capable of satisfying the required threshold. On public participation, we are satisfied that the public participation conducted by the National Assembly in connection with the impeachment of His Excellency Gachagua met the constitutional threshold. The Senate did not violate Articles 10 or 118 by failure to conduct its own independent public participation. We further hold that public participation was not constitutionally required for the nomination and approval of His Excellency Kindiki as Deputy President under Article 149, Sub-Article 1. Constitutionality and legality of standing orders. We find and hold that the impugned standing orders of the Senate and the National Assembly are not unconstitutional. Composition of the National Assembly, role of IEBC, and nomination of the Deputy President. We find that while the failure by Parliament to enact legislation on the gender rule remains a constitutional concern, this court has recently clarified in the Conchella and others decision that null. Composition of the National Assembly, role of IEBC, and nomination of the Deputy President. We find that while the failure by Parliament to enact legislation on the gender rule remains a constitutional concern, this court has recently clarified in the Conchella and others decision that the remedy under Article 261 is still available and must be pursued through the proper procedural channels. Consequently, it would be premature to hold that the National Assembly was improperly constituted for purposes of considering the impeachment motion. The gazettement of the Senate resolution, the President's nomination of His Excellency Kindiki, and the National Assembly's approval did not contravene the Constitution merely because they were undertaken expeditiously. We therefore affirm that the nomination and Assembly's approval did not contravene the Constitution merely because they were undertaken expeditiously. We therefore affirm that the nomination and appointment of His Excellency Kindiki as Deputy President.
Noton ko tilet noton kokon kapkirwok en kemboutab amut. Amache keba agenge agoi kebeberta noton nebo Nairobi chitab Kalenjin ole ng'ololjin sirikab logoiwek nguni nekirubeyotab President Rigathi Gachagua.
To start exhaustive and extensive consultations with my supporters and opinion leaders and stakeholders on the formula of identifying a single presidential candidate to face President William Ruto. Following the High Court ruling, my 60-member caucus of elders and professionals, including the clergy and the youth who advise me on political, social, and economic issues on a daily basis, held a virtual meeting last night following the judgment that was reached by the 3 judges. And now they have instructed me as follows: that the work of political mobilization to remove President William Ruto from office is complete. and there is no need for further political mobilization. They have now tasked me to engage of what in their view is of utmost priority: the identification of a single presidential candidate to face President William Ruto. They have asked me to move to Amonyoro and meet stakeholders, opinion leaders, and all the people who matter in our political formation to seek their mandate and authority to initiate negotiations with my core principles with a view of identifying a single presidential candidate. They have instructed me that having a single presidential candidate against President William Ruto is not negotiable and is the only way to liberate this country. And they have asked me to stick to that commitment. And I therefore want to assure the people of Kenya that Rigathi Gachagua, on instructions from his supporters, who are in millions, nearly 10 million people, who will lead from the front to identify a single presidential candidate to face President William Ruto. From our corner, we have two plans, Plan A and B, that we shall discuss with the stakeholders for 45 days. You will not see me anywhere in public rallies. I will be in Amonyoro, doing very, very serious, extensive consultations, because this is critical for the country. It's extremely critical for the country. We have two plans. Plan A is to mobilize support from across the country in the event that my colleagues and the formula we shall agree on favor me as a presidential flag bearer. Plan B, in the event that the formula does not favor me as a single presidential candidate, to get mandate from my supporters to, jointly with the other core principles, identify a single presidential flag bearer to face President William Ruto. I want to reiterate and firmly state to the people of Kenya that I remain committed to work with my colleagues in the United Alternative Government towards the cause of a single presidential flag bearer. I remain hopeful that I will be that candidate for the election of the presidency. I have the capacity and the muscle, I have the infrastructure and the presidential experience, I have the necessary networks and great mobilization capacity, numbers behind me, and a very good strategy for the presidential campaign. However, if any of my other colleagues is agreed upon, I give a very firm commitment to the people of Kenya that I, Rigathi Gachagua, and 10 million supporters behind me, we shall rally behind the agreed candidate to a man, and I, Rigathi Gachagua, will lead the presidential campaign, and I will lead in the political mobilization that has never been seen in the history of independent Kenya to make William Ruto a one-term president and restore the Kenyan nation and save the Kenyan nation from corruption, conflicts of interest, state capture, erosion of democracy, extrajudicial killings, wanton sale of public assets.
Noton ko ngalalet noton nebo Rigathi Gachagua kitestai kisibi logoiwechu chitab kolenjin asikobit kebunen logoiwek chemiten tai ole kaimuch kobor inendet kaimetabgei mising en kit nekamwa kole makimuch kisib kebeberta noton nebo 47 anan Article 47 noton nebo ng'atutik chebo emoni, kit nemwoe inendet kole kinyolu kikochi imanda noton nebo kekas inendet en kasarta noton ne kitesetai impeachment en Senate noton nebo emoni. Kaimuch komwa kole wendi koibe inendet kakwautik cheterterchin kong'eten nguni kosubkei ak tilanoton ne agenge en kakwautik choton ko kotokyigei kapkirwok noton nebo kong'ung'unyosiek anan Court of Appeal asikobit konyor kit nekamwa kole imanda kosubkei ak noton. Kistoengei noton chitab kolenjin ak ketokyigei logoiwek alak kole miten President William Ruto kebeberta noton nebo nganaset nebo Oslo en emet noton nebo Norway. Niton ko rutoito noton nekoimuch koyai president en emonoton en kasarta noton nekoimuch kwo inendet emet noton nebo Europe en rutoito noton nebo emotinwek somok cheboto Belgium ak Finland. ole tesetai kokimiti inendet tilyandit koboto mung'aroshek en kwenutab emoni ak emotinwek choton somok.
Hello. How are you, my dear? Habari yako? Hello. How are you? What's your name? Georgina. Stand here with the photo. Georgina. Okay, great. Georgina, thank you very much. Hello. How are you? Yeah, Victoria. How are you? Very good. Hello. How are you?
Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Bishop Matthew Mayo.
Yes.
I lecture at Fit University.
Okay. How are you, Bishop?
I'm good.
Georgina. Okay, great. Georgina, thank you very much. Hello. How are you? Yeah, Victoria. How are you? Very good. Hello. How are you?
Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Bishop Matthew Mayo.
Yes.
I lecture at Fit University.
Ngistange noton kiwangunen logoichu kastoindenyon chitab Kalenjin kurset noton yobu minista noton nebo tililindo Aden Duale nekoimuch kokochi kurset meng'ik chebo counties chebo Garissa, Tana River koboto Kitui komeng'in en kalyet. Kong'ololi inendet en kebeberta noton nebo Bura en komosta nebo Tana River County kosome bororiosiek choton che kikoterchin en kasarta nekoi koker kole kakimit meng'isiet en kalyet kosubkei ak netindoi kelchinoik chechang missing kalyet neboto kasuldaetab tetutikab bandaptai.
Kama hakuna amani, wamama wetu hawatafanya biashara. Kama hakuna amani, watu hawataenda misikiti, hawataenda kanisa. Kama hakuna amani, barabara zitaharibika, magari hazitakuwa zinatembea. Mimi nataka watu wa Tana River, na tutaongea na viongozi wa Garissa, viongozi wa Kitui. Sisi wote tumekuwa majirani. Na hiyo kuwa majirani ni kwa sababu ya amri ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Unaweza kuchagua rafiki lakini huwezi kuchagua jirani. Leo hatuwezi kuhamisha Tana River tupeleke bali pengine, ama tuhamishe Kitui, ama tuhamishe Garissa. Mungu amesema tuishi pamoja jirani. Mimi ningeomba viongozi wa Tana River, viongozi wa Kitui, viongozi wa hata Garissa, sababu wanatumia hiyo barabara, na jamii zote wakae chini. Tuko tayari tudumishe
noton ko kurset koyob Aden Duale. Asikiwang'u logoiwek chitab Kalenjin ko miten logoiwek chemwoe kole kaimuch koyai bonwekab oret en betutab raini kipsomaninik choton chebo sukulitab werik noton nebo Migori anan Migori Boys en county nebo Migori konerekyin anan komwoe kole nyolu kotonoso yautik choton chebo beletab sukul. Kaimuch kosubkei ak logoiwek komwa ichek kole mabendi anan machobotin kobel sukulinywan ako noton koyai bonwekab oret chebo kalyet koesio yautik chekokiborionchi chechang missing chetinye ak belset nebo sukulishek. Kitestai kisibi logoiwek choton asikobit keibunen logoiwek chemiten tai. Logoiwek choton kitukyin yoton logoiwekab emet kong'eten ketesiet nebo Nenyon TV. Director nenyune en koskoleng'utab betutab raini ko Peter Kiplagat, kikurenon Bett Elkanah amakun koskoleng'ut netala.